Welcome to Withdraw Consent. I'm Jack. This is Victor. Victor, like, you know how people say back the blue and stuff like that?
Totally.
What do you think about people who say support the military? Like, what are your thoughts?
I would say it's very different than it used to be.
Okay, what used to be, you're talking about what time period?
My whole life until, let's say, I would say Obama drone attacks were the first time where I was just starting to, like, should we support this?
Okay, now let me change the question then.
Sure.
I'm not talking about your subjective reality. I'm talking about objectively whether or not you should have been supporting the police as an American citizen. So, like, go back in the 90s, should you have been supporting the military? Not you, just an objective. Just look at it like
based on what I know now.
Know what you know now. Should people be supporting the military? Okay, so how far would you have to go back to get to a point where you support the military?
I feel like the only one that we really haven't looked into is the Korean War. So maybe, based on the track record, I would say never.
You know that the Korean War was 5 years after World War II ended? I'm pretty sure that's true. 1950.
I thought it was 50s. Yeah.
But 1950, I seen the other day. So 5 years and you already getting it?
Man.
Wow, we really did good. Ending war for, that was the First World War. Never mind.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, so like, go back in time. So you don't know about the Korean War. Go back in time and say, what was the last justified war that, like, you could really get behind that America was in?
Revolutionary War?
No, okay. You went back. Okay. I went to War of 1812, you know?
See, I don't know anything about that. That popped into
They
my head. They
burned our White House. Let's nuke them.
Gotcha.
With our cannons. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, did we false flag them or instigate the war somehow?
Oh, I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
But then I found another one.
Oh.
An even more recent one.
But you agree with American Revolution?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got two. Okay, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm taking 1812 for now, too.
Okay.
And now I'm taking 1855.
Okay.
Mexican-American War. Was that 55 or 45? Nah, it was 46. Okay, so you go back 10 years before this, and there was the Alamo.
Okay.
Right? And then the very next year, there was I'd be fascinated to do a video on the whole thing because it's so interesting what I was researching. But the next year, there's the Texas Revolution, you know?
Okay.
And they revolt, and then they form their own country. They're a republic, not U.S. at all, you know?
Right.
And then 10 years later, the U.S. is like, yeah, we'll annex you. And they're like, okay, you know, we'll bring it on in, you know? And then Mexico's like, no, we can't be having that, you know? And then the year after that, there's the Mexican-American War. I'm pretty sure it was 1846 to 1848. But I'm like, okay, I can get behind it. Because if it's our people in Texas, you know what I'm saying? And they're like, hey, you know what I mean? So then they led to that. And then we got, you know, California, part of Utah, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico. Interestingly, we didn't get all the land. I didn't know this. But it went to the 1850s. There was this is unrelated, to the Gadsden Purchase.
Okay.
And we purchased the south ends of the south parts of New Mexico and Arizona. It was like, I don't know, 70,000 square miles or something. But, like, there was this wild governor of New Mexico who just kept doing forays into Mexico. And they're like, you know, we should probably sell them this land so they'd stop. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Because they might just take it, you know?
Right.
Anyways, I can get behind the Mexican-American War because the Alamo, and I don't mind just taking anything after, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Anyways, in my opinion. Davy Crockett died.
Okay.
It's a whole thing. So anyways, what I'm saying here is that...
But that's the last one.
That's the last one I can get behind.
So let's say 1850, and we're at 2020.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, like, it's 170 years of wars.
And you could talk about the War of Northern Aggression if you want to, you know, or the Civil War, but I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Like, for now, I'm cool with talking about that, you know? It's more difficult when you're talking about an internal conflict based on you know, not that it was even an internal conflict, because every country has a right to succeed peacefully.
Every state.
Virginia had it in their constitution that they could succeed.
Right.
Like, okay, so whatever, let's kill them all. Anyways, so I can't get behind it from the north, obviously, you know, which is we are the, you know, what's left over from the north. So anyways, my point is, if all the wars suck, and we're the bad guy in almost every war, so a war that I can't get behind doesn't mean we're the bad guys.
It doesn't mean?
It doesn't mean we're you know what I'm saying? We're the bad guys.
Okay.
So, like,
what war are we not the bad guy in?
Oh my
in that 170 years. I feel like you're making a distinction, and my mind says that's invalid because we're always the bad guy.
Yeah, okay.
We always instigate.
We were the
always
bad
false
guys.
flag.
We were one of the bad guys in World War One. We were one of the bad guys in World War Two.
Yep.
I'm not sure. I need to know more about the Korean War. We were definitely the bad guys in Vietnam.
False flagged them.
False flags in Gulf of Tonkin, yeah. And we were best. All the Middle East stuff were the bad guys.
Yeah, Kuwait.
When it's funny because when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, we were the bad guys.
Right.
We had embargoed the oil.
Yep.
You know. And look, okay. So I don't blame a young person for joining the military.
Okay.
If they're indoctrinated to do so. I blame your parents. I blame your parents for not knowing a tiny bit of history and know that we've been wrong. No matter how old you are watching this, like say you're the oldest person in the world watching this, your parents weren't alive during a good war. Okay. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So there's 100% obligation for your parents to teach you, don't join, and for you to teach your children or grandchildren if it's too late and you've missed your children on it, you know? I'm not blaming the people who are joining because they're just being indoctrinated.
Okay.
Or not being indoctrinated in the correct way. They still go out and do the bad things, and if they tell you to do a bad thing, just don't do it. Better to sit in a cell than just to murder some brown people.
Yeah, see, that's my issue, is that as soon as your conscience kicks in, and you're like, why are we destroying this village? Or like the drone pilots that you want me to bomb this weddings because there's an arms dealer there? Or
right. But I think there's kind of like a weird group psychosis where they boot camped you and this and that. And then you come into a room and everybody's like, ha, got a school bus. And you're like, I'm a pretty good shot. You know what I mean?
It's like Call of Duty to them.
Yeah, this is what we're doing, right? And then it's like, oh, yeah, I've been doing this for 4 years. And it's like a group. I just doesn't, that doesn't justify you. You still get the noose, you know what I'm saying? For murdering all these people, you know, for war crimes and all this. But I think it's just okay, so I have a lot of traditional values, we'll say, right?
Okay.
And a lot of other people with traditional values are really big into supporting the military.
That's true.
Especially since the people who have traditional values were, say, the Republicans of the 90s.
Okay.
Those were the...
true.
Remember, we need to put the mature audience tags on the CDs. Remember?
Right. Oh, yeah.
So it's traditional values as well as kill all the brown people. So the traditional values people ended up being the pro-military people.
Right. Gaddis, Bush, and Cheney.
Yeah. And now the traditional people are anti-war,
right,
but still pro-military.
That's interesting. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so I don't get it. I have accountability for you the older you are. I require more accountability from you. So if you're like, oh man, I was in World War II. I was 14. Lied, told them that I was 18. Went and fought from the age of 14 to 17. Okay, you're the bad guy over there. You're fighting for the communists, you know, on behalf of the communists. But I can't blame you so much. You're 14 to 17, and when you did it, you went in with a good patriotic hoorah. You know what I'm saying? Now do Vietnam vets. I would do World War II vets, but they're just not around anymore. So let's do Vietnam vets. Get this McDonald's. I like to go for breakfast sandwiches, you know, sometimes when I'm working. And always you go in the morning, there's these papas there, and they all got their veteran hats on, you know? One time I went in, there was like 12 of them at one long table. I'm like, this is the most Popeyes I've ever seen in my life. This is cute, you know what I'm saying? But I want to go over and I want to tell them, listen, y'all are wearing the hats. You know what I'm saying? So what does that mean? And they're like, oh, we're veterans of Vietnam War. You'd be like, okay, but do you know you were the bad guy? You're wearing the hat proving that you were the villain. Like you didn't know back then. I'm not going to hold you too tough on this. You were 18. You were probably drafted for a war that we never declared war on. You were in a draft. Okay, so what I'm saying is, you're still backing that, wearing that hat. I don't understand how you could go decades and decades and decades and decades and decades since then. Read all the news. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know if it's like a camaraderie, you know, my brother's in the ship and, you know, that type of thing where and that's what they're celebrating, is I remember all the guys that were with me and that type of thing, as opposed to celebrating the people we killed or, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So it could be that.
Do you remember after they suppressed the Hunter Biden laptop story and then they said now it's true?
Right.
After the 50 intelligence officials said it was Russian disinfo. And then they're like, after that, they're like, oh, but if we had known that was true, whatever, 11% of Democrats, some number, would have not voted for Biden.
Okay.
I feel like it's like with the Vietnam War, okay, that story was suppressed. Now you know it's true. And now you're looking back like, am I going to be one of the 11%? I'm not down with all this child stuff with the children, this crack smoking, this 10% for the big guy,
right.
all the things. You know what I'm saying? But then there's another like 89% who are like, nah, I still vote for him. You know what I mean? So like this is like it on the Vietnam War. Now it's 50, it's more than 50 years now. It's more than 50. It's more than 50 since it ended. And well, whatever it is. Anyways, but like now you're looking back and you know that the Hunter Biden story was false. But you're looking back and you know that you were the bad guys. You know about the stuff's been declassified. You know about the Gulf of Tonkin, blah 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 blah. You're still wearing the hat.
Right. I feel like there would be shame.
Right.
That you participated in that.
And then the guy wearing the hat is my representation of everybody with traditional values. Okay. You don't own a hat, but you support the dude who wore the hat.
Right.
Who wears the hat now. And it's wild to me because I like fantasized about talking to this group of people,
Okay.
And if they're like, well, what do you want us to do? And I tell them, no, wear your hat. Go in front of a recruiting office. Make it your life's mission to stop one kid from going in.
Right.
Keep doing it once a week until you stop one kid from going in. Tell them, you know what this hat mean, boy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got drafted to do something evil by evil people who put a false flag.
Really good.
So that, right? One person and then boom. Take the hat off, burn it, or keep it as a keepsake. Right. This is how stupid I was when I was a kid, and put it up there. Or even continue to wear it so that if next time somebody in front of you say, no, I don't back this. I'm wearing this to show how much of a villain I was. You know what I mean? Do you know? Use it as a talking point,
It's like the Scarlet Letter.
Yeah. But there's stuff you could do.
Right. That's an interesting point.
Yeah. And just don't back the military, right?
Right. Yeah, see, it's tough because, like, when you say don't back the military, I'm thinking of, like, the vets coming home from Vietnam and people are spitting on them.
Oh, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, but that's the imagery that's in my head.
Okay.
And I just want to make sure we're not saying that.
I'm definitely not saying that.
But if you think about it, if we were the bad guys,
right,
were they that far off?
Okay, so I would say no. I would say don't spit on them.
Yeah.
I would say the veterans should get all the health care.
100%.
Because if you got sent over there and got a leg blown off, you should get all the health care.
For your whole life, yeah.
Yeah. And I can't think of a category. Definitely get health care. Oh, here's what I would do. I would say the standard of a veteran's health care has to be as high as Congress's.
Oh, good.
It's the rule.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You want to treat okay, because you got looped into this. You know what I'm saying? Whether it was through indoctrination, whatever. But it's like one of the things. Okay, and then also I'm totally fine with hanging all the people who've committed war crimes.
Okay.
All the veterans who've committed war crimes. Just because you're a veteran doesn't mean you committed a war crime.
Right. It's not a protected class or something.
Right. Like I have a neighbor and she was in hospital administration in the military. Cool. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's good. You serve the country. Appreciate you. Because she didn't know that we were the bad guys then or now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
She didn't see the drone strikes on the. You know what I mean? So then, anyways, I don't mind hanging people for past war crimes because that's what happens.
Okay.
You can look in the past at war crimes and hang all the generals. Okay. So, interestingly, not the one that died in the Pentagon on the 9/11 attack, right?
Okay.
Because he was just a recruiting guy.
Right.
He's like the one lieutenant general you can find who's like, I'm guilty of no war crime. Dead.
Yeah.
It was a airplane. Okay. So, one of the things I want to talk about, which I almost went into in our previous video that was unrelated, but they're grooming out all of the good people from the military. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And so they did the exodus with the refusing to do the mandatory vaccinations.
Yep.
They're doing some DEI stuff, right? Like the commercials we see. So they're actively trying to recruit people who are very
politically aligned with.
Yeah. And it's not even that you're diverse or that you need equity or inclusion. It's that you're politically aligned,
right.
Which does mean a lot of minorities. But that you're a minority doesn't mean you're not a patriot with traditional values. You know what I'm saying? They don't want you because you're a minority. They want you because you have the same political values.
Right.
And then that also discourages people. So like when I see that commercial and I'm 17, I'm like, I'd say I got a conservative dad. I'm not joining with those wackadoos.
Right.
That's wild. You see the video of that black girl just yelling, screaming at her superior officer? It's like, I'm cool. That's not a military to me,
Right.
So then it becomes a hostile environment towards people with more conservative values. And then people with these crazy political ideals are going to go up the political chain in the military. They're going to end up being the generals of your children's or their children's military. Anyways, I also wouldn't mind changing my view on this 100% and getting completely behind a good military.
100%.
If you what if you had a military that they're like, okay, so here's what we need to do. We need to intensify our attacks in Yemen. And the general's like, no. You can fire me if you want. You're executive, I'm the general. You can fire me, but I guarantee you the guy underneath me that I train, no.
Right.
You know the guy he trained? No, it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? And in that case, you'd have to bring in puppets.
Right.
You'd have to bring in okay, so I know this actor, his name's Zelensky. We're going to bring him in, and he's now Major General of the 5th degree with 5 stars, Brigadier General of the United States. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Basically, this is my entire argument. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like you didn't take one thing far enough when you're talking about them getting rid of people and encouraging people of political alignment to join the military. It's like the people with traditional values they're lagging behind what's going on, and they're still supporting something that isn't a thing that they even think it is. Like the military now is not the military they supported when they were a kid. Even if you forget all the red flags and more the bad guys, you get rid of all that. This isn't the same group. It's a group that's actively purging you from the military. Why are you supporting them?
And the left doesn't even support the military.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the meme shouldn't be like the black girl yelling at the superiors and you're like, oh, look at this woke military. The meme should be, this is the military, you support conservatives. Right. Go.
It should have, her on one side, and on the other side, it's a bunch of conservatives saying we support the military.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the absurdity, and that whole section of people doesn't understand what's going on.
This is great, because it's the same thing with the recruiting commercials.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, look how woke that is. No, this is the military that you support, conservative, traditionalist, whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
And they're just stupid or so programmed, and this is the thing we believe in. They're not willing to give it up. It's incredible.
Okay, so there's this thing when you're driving, right? And you're in weather, right? And say it's like extreme weather. It's just raining. It's coming down. Boom, you put on your four-way flashers. You're going 10 miles an hour. There's cars pulled over, but you don't want to pull out. The rain's slowing down. You start speeding up. You take off your four-way flashers. You're driving faster. There's cars still going 5 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You drive in this all the time. You can go 60 and a 70, we'll say. It's completely safe at 60 and a 70. They're still going 5, 10 miles an hour. They still got their flashers on. This guy's got up to 20 now. I'm going by in the fast lane at 60, because they haven't realized that it's changed.
Right.
They're like, oh, it will always rain and I'll always have to go 5 miles an hour forever. You know what I mean? And then it takes a while for it to click in their head and say, oh, conditions are nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like we're in that lag period right there.
Totally.
With traditionalists and conservatives supporting the military.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, I think I don't know if we're going to find a lot of people to agree with us on this, because y'all might be in the lag period. I don't know if it's because this is one of the, we got this common thing we have where we got a bunch of categories and we can message each other back and forth. And we have one called new episode ideas. And this is one of the oldest new episode ideas. And I've hesitated on it for so long, even though I've known all the same things. I don't know. Maybe people are ready for it. Maybe they're like, we've been waiting for somebody to hear this. But I feel like this is a good video to share with people who don't do this, because there's so many people out there.
So many.
To share it with. Conservatives, traditionals, your guy at church, your pastor. You know what I mean? There's so many that you could, either that or we don't find anybody who will share it because they're like, dang, support the military. Yes. So that's what I got. Okay.
So what are your guys' thoughts on this? Are we way off base, or does hopefully our reasonable arguments make sense to you, and do they hit home? We'd love to hear your thoughts of why we're right or wrong in the comments below. If you have people that would do good, like hearing this information, please share it with them. We appreciate your follows, your subscribes, your likes, whatever they are on this platform you're watching on. And got tons of videos in the backlog. Check them out. We release new content every week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern. And hopefully we'll see you next time.